everybody, come and crochet this little shark with me, a baby shark. And this one turned out the best yet. It went from this guy, who is cute, to this even cuter guy. Let's get started. For this project today, we're going to use either a gray or blue yarn. Today I want to use the gray because I've done a few in this blue yarn. This is Premier Parfait Chunky in Cloudy Day. This is Premier Parfait Chunky in Pale Blue. I have some left over Bernat, I think this is, that matches white, some acrylic yarn, some stitch markers, a needle for sewing, and scissors. The sewing is for embroidery. The rest of it is pretty much no-sew besides securing the middle and like making knots, depending on if you want to just use your crochet hook or if you want to use your needle. We're also going to need a crochet hook, of course, and polyfill. I had forgotten to mention. I went one hook size down from my yarn. You could use really any yarn as long as the two colors are matching up. I'm going to use the Gray Cloudy Day, and I want to have at least a few stitch markers with me. There's going to be different rounds that don't match up to the original place where you started, but you want to know where you started the whole time. So we're going to make a magic ring or a magic circle any way that you know how. You can use the method where you're traditionally making a magic circle, or you can use a method where you're chaining and stuff like that. So I made my magic ring almost, and then I'm going to do 5 single crochets into that ring. 1, 2, I usually wait till the second one, but I'm going to put my stitch marker in. Oftentimes, since I have made this guy a lot, I might not mark that in the first few rounds, but I'm going to here so everybody can follow along. 3, 4, 5, and then pull tight everything. Now we're going to increase in each stitch. So since we put 5 in there, we should end up with 10. And we're not going to slip stitch or anything. We're just going to go in continuous rounds. 1, 2. I'm going to leave my stitch marker open, but just put it right there. Get some yarn. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to count because I feel like I have a stitch left over. 9. I'm going to just double check that. Go ahead and make sure that you have the correct increases. Oh, I know what I did. I put it in the second one instead of the first one. So I have my 10 stitches from my 5 increases, and at this time I want to secure my tail. And when I do the amigurumi where you're not going to see anything, I don't really care about sewing in much. I might a little bit, but then I usually just find a good spot to make a knot on the other side. Make a nice knot because it's going to be on the inside. Nobody's going to see it. I'm going to cut that down a little bit just so it doesn't get into my way while I'm going. And then the next round is going to be one single crochet increase until we get to 15. And this is sort of the last round for a while that's more traditional. And I always usually get this weird bump. So before I keep going, I'm going to mark that I did number 1 because I need to increase in the next one. All I do is I take my tail if you get a little weird bump like that, because it's not the end of the world. You don't have to start over. I never start over when I get that, is I go up through, grab it, go back down, it's gone, and then I'll make one more knot. And this may have been mentioned a second time now, but we're starting with the body. I have ADHD, like legitimately, and so I often forget if I mentioned something, but I'm pretty sure I didn't mention it at the very start. You could make it a game. Every time I say something more than once, make a tally mark, and that's how many treats you get to treat yourself to that day. All right, so that's a trick. You can't even notice it was ever there. So there's that first one, but I put it in the wrong spot. So 1, am I going in the wrong way? Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, increase, 8, 9 that's going to be, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, so it's 14, 15. All right, so I've got 15 on there. Now the next round is going to be a 5 single crochet increase 3 times. So what I like to do is, now this is going to stay here. It's not going to move right now. I'm going to clip it closed and I'm going to crochet over it, and then I might take it out and move it up, but for a while I'm probably going to leave it there. So 5 single crochet increase, and just do that 3 times. And I don't really worry about the stitch count. I'm just going to do 5 increase, 5 increase, 5 increase. So you're adding 3, right? So it'll be it. But just trust me. Because we'll end up back at that beginning at the end because of the shape of the shark. And sometimes it's hard to get in there with your stitch marker in there, so you could just take it out and mark there too. It doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase. So you're making 7s, right? So that's a group of 7. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase. So that's 14 that we just put in there, right? The overall round when we get to here isn't going to be 14, but that's okay. Now 5, again, 1, slippery, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase. Okay, so that's that round. Now for the next round, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on the 5th round. We're going to do 8 single crochets 2 times, increase. So 8, increase 2 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, increase. Now we're going to do 12 single crochets to finish up this round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now we're going to do 10 single crochets and increase 2 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, increase. To move a cord out of my way here. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, increase. And then to finish off this round, we're going to do 20 single crochets around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right. If you go all the way around from where we started, which is this one right here, you should have 22 stitches. And I'm just going to crochet one more because that will meet us up to that line. And I'm not going to pull all the way through. Or yes, I am. Sorry. I'm just going to bring us up to that line and then start with number 1 here. Now you're just going to do 3 rounds of 22 even. And literally 22, no increases anymore. I'm going to meet you back here after I do those 3 rounds. I already finished one of the tail fins because I need to show you after we finish this one how we connect them first before they're going to be added to the body later. So again, I like to make a magic ring. I don't normally do the chain method. It messes me up because whenever I chain it seems like I don't do the right amount of chains, or I do it too tightly and then my stitches don't fit in there, but some people are really good at that. So in this one, we're going to do 4 single crochets for the tail fin. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if I can get this one closed. Almost. Don't want to break it. All right, 4. And we aren't going to increase all the way around this time. If you can see here, the tail is a lot smaller than the side fins. And we want to keep it that way so we don't mix anything up too. What we're going to do is 1 single crochet increase all around until we have 6 single crochets in here. This is a pretty easy, this works up very quickly. One single crochet increase. That gives me 3 already. Another single crochet by itself. And then increase. Oopsie. Come on. Double check and make sure that you have 6. And then the last round is putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. And mine, I did it pretty tightly, so you can see that my stitches are kind of folded under here. That's where I want to grab those stitches to not leave any bumps or anything sticking out. One, I'm going to show that a little bit up close too. So some of my stitches are kind of popping up and out, but I'm going to grab them from this side. 3, 4, 5, 6. You should still have your stitch markers with you. If you don't, just pull that out farther. I'm going to grab mine. I didn't secure my tail yet. I'm just going to secure that tail. It's easy to forget on these tiny ones. But we can't forget to secure the tail. Then it could come apart and that's never good. And there's no stuffing at all in any of the fins. Secured. We'll cut it smaller. This is a really tiny one. Stuff it inside, fold it so the right sides are out. Stitch marker out. Going to do that thing again where I go on the opposite side into a stitch, pull that loop through just to make it easier, and then start sewing, or I mean slip stitching it close. You could totally fasten off and just sew these together too if you don't like the slip stitch method. I think it's easier and then every single thing is precise. Sometimes when you're sewing, it can be not as precise and you'd have to make sure that you're using the same exact method of how you sewed in every single fin. You have a long tail. Oop, I'm just going to not make an extra knot to not make it bulky. Pull it all the way through. And then we're going to connect the tails together, the tail fins. The first thing I need to do is get this in the right position. Make sure that there aren't any little imperfections. Whoa, where am I now? It's hard to see. So, and now I have a little weirdo thing up there. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that first. I see that these are my slip stitches. I get really lost in this yarn, so I try really hard to pay attention. So this is where I started at my magic ring that's having this little flaw right here. I'm going to use my scissors. No, that's not going to work. So what I'm going to do is kind of get this flush at the end, and then I'm just going to stick it all the way down here. I don't even know where that came from, but that happens sometimes. And then I'm going to stick this all the way up here. Get it gone. Should have been gone. You're not going to see that. And then I'm going to kind of go inside and then go down again. Really lightly. You don't want to pull this really taut. It's going to change the shape of your tail if you do that. Just make sure to wiggle it out. And then you should have 2 tail fins that are looking pretty similar, the same, and have the strings coming out, the yarn coming out of the same sides, and pretty gently tie them together so that they come to a close at the base. with 2 so that there's a nice knot, and I go really slow so that it just ties together nicely. Now we can do the dorsal fin. Now I did my 3 rounds of 22 single crochet, and I didn't finish off yet because I want to leave the last 2 loops on my hook when I was going to do the last single crochet when I color change to white. That makes everything very clean and flush and nice. Now I'm going to snip off some yarn. I don't need a lot of excess of that gray color that I'm using, and I'm going to just tie it 2 or 3 times, however I'm feeling secure that day, and then do 1 round of white. See, it's nice and is going to go along with everything. 1 round of single crochet 22 with white. I'm not going to use my stitch marker yet because I can see it right away. 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the gist of it. I think I can just go all the way around and I don't have to count out loud anymore. Let's go all the way around with 1. You only need the white for 3 rounds, and then the whole body is done besides the embroidery. And we're not going to do the embroidery until we're closer to the end, and then you have most of your project done already. Super quick, super cute. You can add your polyfill when you're done with this first round of white. I don't like to because I feel like it's going to get in my way when I start the decrease round. So you can start to add it right now, or you can wait. It's up to you. All right, so the second round is going to be 1 single crochet decrease. And I'm going to add it for just the purposes of teaching. But when I'm closing something, I don't always use a stitch marker because I don't feel like it matters that much. But there's my 1, and I'm going to do an invisible decrease where I just grab the front loops and do a decrease because it doesn't cause as many clumps, and we want the bottom of the shirt to be flat so it looks better too. And then 1 single crochet, and even if you accidentally grab the back loops is what I think I did, decrease. It doesn't really matter with the fluffy yarn, you can't really tell. 1 single crochet decrease all the way around. And you're going to need more polyfill than you think. So I have my whole bag out. I grabbed a bunch that I don't know if it's enough. I'll show you when after this round. I don't know if I did, yep, I did do a decrease, okay. So just keep doing that pattern all the way around of the 1 single crochet decrease. When I get to the end, I'm going to use a stitch marker to just hold my place. I have a couple more to go after this. one single crochet and then that invisible decrease for my last one, where I grab the front loops only for my decrease. Okay, stitch marker ready. Should be looking like this. Looks very much kind of like a cone head. And I have all this fluff. It might be too much, but I'd rather have a little bit more than too little. There's a bigger shark that I made from a free pattern on Instagram. Can't remember the name right now, but I'll put it in the description if I remember. Whoa, just rip off what I don't need. And you kind of want that. The pointy top is where that dorsal fin is gonna go. And one of your tops, or one of your sides is gonna be more flat, and one of your sides is gonna point out a little bit more. And the pointy out side is gonna be the tail, and that flatter side is going to be the face. And you wanna pack it firmly and shape it. Once you notice like you're stuffing it, one thing when I was making the big one that I first learned from, because I didn't understand how it looked the way it looked until I started going like this, and I've been crocheting for a long time. So I knew that I needed to do that, but a lot of times patterns don't tell you that you need to really feel out the shape. Even if it says pack firmly, it won't say it, and then you'll get confused. So I packed it and I'm kind of squeezing it out, and you can see that this is more rounded right here and this is flatter. So this is kind of two different spots that are going to be used for two different things. And I have one done that I'm going to reference after we're finished. So after you feel like this is nice and full or almost full, we're going to go ahead and decrease in every single round. And I do invisible decreases pretty much always, because every time I go back to try to do a regular decrease, it looks chunky and I don't like it, and then I undo it, or I go, ugh, I just finished that project and I'm not super happy with it, because I can tell all the flaws. Most people can't, so it doesn't matter that much, but it sure matters to me. Keep going off camera here. So I'm going to go ahead and decrease and I'll come back. When you're at the end, you're just going to slip stitch that. And you don't need to make an extra knot right now. Put your needle on the yarn and then go ahead and close it. I think I may have kept going a little bit too far, but you should have some left over, and you just go in between weaving it like in the front loops and then pull it tight. So then you make a knot. Having a little bit of trouble seeing where my thing is here. Just gonna go ahead and pop it out, and then pop it through pretty deeply. Now I need to make two of the side fins, two of the tail fins, and one dorsal fin. And I'm just going to show you one of the side fins and one of the tail fins on camera, and the dorsal fin. So I'm going to start with the side fence. I'm going to make a magic ring. You make whatever working circle that you want to make and do 3 single crochets into that ring. Pull it tight. So the next round is to increase all around. I'm going to go off camera and do that because my stitches are really tiny and tight together, and then I'll be back. For the third round and off camera, I already secured the loop in my ring. We're going to do 1 single crochet increase. We're going to end up with 8 in this round altogether. Then 2 single crochets. Increase. One single crochet. Make sure that you have 8 all around. And then go ahead and do 1 round of 8 single crochets. So 1 single crochet in every single stitch. Six, 7, 8. If your tail is too long on the inside, just cut it shorter. I'm going to tuck mine inside. That's it for the side fin, except finishing it off. So you just fold it in half, line up the stitches, and slip stitch it closed. You can take that out if you want to. I don't always do that. And go like this to get you started, because that can be helpful. Bring that through to the other side. That can make it nice to start slip stitching a little bit easier. And then it's done. Go ahead and cut everything where you need it to be cut and make another one. Of course, leave a long tail for sewing. And I don't want something bulky right here, so I'm going to just let it be at this slip stitch. And this is going to be on the back side, so I want to make sure that I get this back over here. But if I have something sticking out, like over here, I noticed I have something bubbling up that's bothering me. I'm just gonna kind of make sure that that looks even over here, and then go over here, stick it inside where nobody's gonna notice. Go on the other side where it's close to it. Go underneath that bump. And then stitch down. Bring that bump down with it. and it's gone. Nice and flat. So make another one of those, and now we're going to make a tail fin. I already finished one of the tail fins because I need to show you after we finish this one how we connect them first before they're going to be added to the body later. So again, I like to make a magic ring. I don't normally do the chain method. It messes me up because whenever I chain it seems like I don't do the right amount of chains, or I do it too tightly and then my stitches don't fit in there, but some people are really good at that. So in this one, we're going to do 4 single crochets for the tail fin. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if I can get this one closed. Almost. Don't want to break it. All right, 4. And we aren't going to increase all the way around this time. If you can see here, the tail is a lot smaller than the side fins. And we want to keep it that way so we don't mix anything up too. What we're going to do is 1 single crochet increase all around until we have 6 single crochets in here. This is a pretty easy, this works up very quickly. One single crochet increase. That gives me 3 already. Another single crochet by itself. And then increase. Oopsie. Come on. Double check and make sure that you have 6. And then the last round is putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. In mine, I did it pretty tightly, so you can see that my stitches are kind of folded under here. That's where I want to grab those stitches to not leave any bumps or anything sticking out. 1. I'm going to show that a little bit up close too. So some of my stitches are kind of popping up and out, but I'm going to grab them from this side. 3. 4. 5. 6. You should still have your stitch markers with you. If you don't, just pull that out farther. I'm going to grab mine. I didn't secure my tail yet. I'm just going to secure that tail. It's easy to forget on these tiny ones. But we can't forget to secure the tail. Then it could come apart and that's never good. And there's no stuffing at all in any of the fins. Secured. We'll cut it smaller. This is a really tiny one. Stuff it inside, fold it so the right sides are out. Stitch marker out. Going to do that thing again where I go on the opposite side into a stitch, pull that loop through just to make it easier, and then start sewing, or I mean slip stitching it close. Um, you could totally fasten off and just sew these together too if you don't like the slip stitch method. I think it's easier, and then every single thing is precise. Sometimes when you're sewing, it can be not as precise, and you'd have to make sure that you're using the same exact method of how you sewed in every single fin. You have a long tail. Ooh, I'm just going to not make an extra knot to not make it bulky. Pull it all the way through. And then we're going to connect the tails together, the tail fins. The first thing I need to do is get this in the right position. Make sure that there aren't any little imperfections. Whoa, where am I now? It's hard to see. So, and now I have a little weirdo thing up there. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that first. I see that these are my slip stitches. I get really lost in this yarn, so I try really hard to pay attention. So this is where I started at my magic ring that's having this little flaw right here. I'm going to use my scissors. No, that's not going to work. So what I'm going to do is kind of get this flush at the end, and then I'm just going to stick it all the way down here. I don't even know where that came from, but that happens sometimes. And then I'm going to stick this all the way up here. Get it gone. Should have been gone. You're not going to see that. And then I'm going to kind of go inside and then go down again. Really lightly. You don't want to pull this really taut. It's going to change the shape of your tail if you do that. Just make sure to wiggle it out. And then you should have two tail fins that are looking pretty similar, the same, and have the strings coming out, the yarn coming out of the same sides, and pretty gently tie them together so that they come to a close at the base with two, so that there's a nice knot. And I go really slow so that it just ties together nicely. Now we can do the dorsal fin. I have 6 on my circle now, and I tied everything off in the back. And now I'm going to do 1 single crochet, increase in the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's the next increase. And then another increase will bring my stitch count to 7. And then 2 single crochets will bring my stitch count to 9. You can already see that that's making a nice curve. It's curving everything. And then the last increase round is going to be 2 single crochets, increase 3 in 3 stitches, and then 4 single crochets. So we're going to go 1, 2, 1, increase, 2, increase, 3 increases, and then 4 around. You should have 12. I'm going to double check right now. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then to finish this off, I'm going to do 12 around and then see if I want it to be longer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm changing this fin. It's a lot different than the one that I've been making for my other sharks because I want it more curved. And I'm just gonna make sure I want it a lot longer than my side fins. So I'm going to do, I think, 2 more rounds of 12 and then I'll be right back. So at the bottom, when you get to 12, you're going to add a total of 3 rounds of 12 after you have that increase round that leads you to 12. When you end, it should look like this. So it should be really easy to see that curve of that dorsal fin going this way. Dun, dun. So it's going to be going onto that shark. Very easy to identify as a shark. And right now I'm going to show you an example shark, and this was my old design for that dorsal fin that I changed so it looks a little bit more chubbier at the base and more pointy at the top. This is an example of the face. So there's 3 stitches in between of the face, and I just went into the center of that flatter side. The booty side has a little bit more girth in there, a little bit more booty, and that's where you stack the tails on top of one another. So the tail, and I'll go in here and kind of scrunch the tail up too. I'll weave the yarn and like scrunch it up too sometimes as I'm sewing. So you would, if you have pins, that would be great. I don't use them for these little ones because then I'd have to go look for them. But you would stack these up and sew them in the very middle, just like how you measured from the eyes. It's in the very middle. And it starts at the very bottom where the white meets the other color. This one is in that light blue color. So 3 in between. And then the fins could be placed like 1 more back is what I would have done. But I had already sewn this on. But they can go right in the middle too, here and here. And then underneath is a good look at that. And you can see that when I did the gills, which are spaced 2 behind the eyes, that not everything's going to be perfect, but as long as it's like even looking, and this one just ended up going 1 behind the eyes because if I ended up going farther back, it would have been even more farther back and I needed to make them even. So whatever you need to do to make the gills look even and good on your little baby shark. But one gill is going to be slightly sewn on there shorter than the other one. And then you just do the same thing on the other side and you make them slanted instead of straight across because then it doesn't look more authentic like a little gill there. I'm going to put my gray one together now, and I sewed down, and what I mean by that is I would sew under here, I would grab under here and come out the top and then go back around. So it would whip stitch this, and I would grab under and go back around for every one. And that's how I did each of these. So when I would come out this side, I would come back out here and then grab one under here and then pull it all the way through. And that's how I did the fins too. So those are the sewing tips for this guy. I'm going to sew mine together, my gray one together, and then it'll be done. And there we have our finished little shark. I like how this one turned out even better than the one that I did with the blue. I kind of did the opposite, which I think is a better way to go. The chunkier booty area, well, I think maybe it's because I just placed these back a little farther. I didn't place these exactly in the middle. I left more space for the face. And here's the little baby shark. Doop, 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 doo, doo. So, there you go. I hope you enjoy your little baby shark and however many you make. And there was a little mistake when I was tying the knot. You want those pieces that you slip stitch together to be on the outside to make it look pointy. And I kept having them on the opposite side. So there you have it.